Korriban, the homeworld of the Sith, the realm where echoes resound and the dark side beckons those who can listen to its call. Korriban wasn't haunting an ancient world that exuded a sense of dark mystic and played a pivotal role in the course of galactic history. The atmosphere of Korriban was breathable, with a hot and dry climate. Korriban's terrain was littered with mountains, canyons, red sands, dry riverbeds, and other ruins. The oppressive sound scorched the planet's surface, giving rise to mighty sandstorms. The air on Korriban was charged with an unsettling energy, with an aura of ancient malevolence. This palpable darkness resonates across the planet, imbuing that essence with the planet itself. One of the most iconic places on the planet, and one that conveyed a haunting and incredible feeling, was the Valley of the Sleeping Kings, a site of great importance that stood as sacred ground for the Sith. Carved out of the rocky landscape, the Valley of the Sleeping Kings served as the final resting place of countless ancient Sith Lords, each entombed in vast mausoleums. The sinister appearance of the valley is accentuated by jagged cliffs and towering statues of Sith Lords, whose gazes rest on an ever-watchful eye on the hallowed ground. Each tomb houses the mortal remains of ancient Sith Lords, entombed along with artifacts, holocrons, and forbidden knowledge they amassed during their lifetimes. Echoes of their dark deeds and ambitions are heard through the halls, serving as a constant reminder of the legacy left behind by the Sith Kings of the past. Located deep in the valley and rising above various structures was the Great Temple, a massive structure built from Korriban stone. The Great Temple served as a mausoleum for many Sith Lords and was adorned with Sith iconography and imposing statues of Sith Lords of the past. Its architecture echoes the distinctive details of Sith design, evoking an air of intimidation and reverence for the dark side. The Valley of Wolves was other important location, one of the many burial valleys built on Korriban. It was located near the equator of the planet. The valley stretched for at least 60 miles or more, and at one point, the canyon floor was 4,000 feet deep. It was lined with tombs similar to those in the Valley of the Sleeping Kings, and was covered in runes of protective Sith magic. The Sith were an enigmatic and ancient species. They had red or obsidian-colored skin, red, brown, or black hair, and red, orange, or yellow eyes. The young were brighter red, then their skin developed deeper shades of crimson as they aged. Some, however, still had hints of being underskinned even in the adulthood. The hallmarks of the species were facial appendages, some resembling tentacle barbs and others bony spurs on various parts of its body. The Sith were consumed by infighting and savagery, almost in a constant state of war with each other. Despite this, they didn't see themselves as savage or barbarians. The Sith themselves were a highly sophisticated species. They saw war and fighting as simple facts of existence. Sith politics and power hierarchy are deeply rooted in the pursuit of supremacy, ambition. The Sith Lords vied for dominance, each pursuing his personal goals and seeking to elevate his position within society. These power-hungry individuals engaged in a constant struggle for power, using cunning, deceit, and even murder to eliminate rivals and rise through the ranks. It wasn't until King Addus appeared to put a stop to all battles, unifying Korriban into one and consolidate himself as the Sith'ari. One aspect that originated from Korriban was the position of the Shadow Hand, a title that was similar to that of a Jedi Padawan. Addus' Shadow Hand would inherit the fallen king's holocron. Sith society was highly hierarchical, using a rigid caste system and rank structure that placed its subjects in their proper place. The following were notable castes present among the Sith. The Kisai were the priestly class in the Sith caste, and were known for studying the nature of the dark side of the Force, for practicing ancient Sith magic and alchemy, and were the spiritual leaders who indoctrinated others in the teaching of the Sith. The Kisai were just as ruthless as the Massassi, but they were more intelligent, cynical, observant, and lacked the physical advantages that the Massassi possessed. The Kisai were loyal and capable allies, preferring to work with others, which made them excellent helpers and assistants. They respond well to instructions and adapt despite great adversity. Their strict cultural standards demanded that they serve their masters well. The Suguruk were remarkably loyal engineers who built and maintained Sith technology, including droids, starships, and tombs. They were the second highest caste in the traditional Sith system, and were responsible for building burial mounds and armories for the Sith. The Suguruk were quite similar to other castes with the Sith species, humanoid in shape, with their skin ranging in shades from crimson to obsidian. Unlike the other subspecies, at least some of the Suguruk had human-like hands with 5 digits, rather than the usual tridactyl hands. The Massassi were the warrior caste of the Sith. They were taller and stronger than the other Sith caste, and combined with their natural aggression of the Sith, made them very efficient soldiers for the Sith army. The Massassi were not very intelligent, but they could train well enough to carry out complex battle plans and maintain their equipment, starships, and weaponry, making them very useful to the Sith. The loyalty of the Massassi had to be earned, but once they did, they were unswervingly obedient to the Dark Lord of the Sith. Massassi senses were very keen compared to humans, particularly his hearing. They also had extremely tough skin. Powerful cauterizing agents such as cyanogen silicate were needed to provide medical assistance to the Massassi. Relative to other species, the Massassis were fairly short-lived. The typical Massassi childhood lasts 10 standard years, with the next 3 standard years constituting young adulthood. The adulthood usually began around 14 years, middle age began after 25 years, and old age after 35. Any Massassi older than 50 years was considered venerable. While not a full caste like the others, slaves still made up a significant part of the Sith social order. Slaves used to be called by the derogatory epithet Grothu. The Sith slaves among them were a mix of subservient subspecies, the lowest in the Sith hierarchy. The Sith, like other cultures, wielded a unique array of weapons. The Sith purebloods commanded respect for their hunger for fight and war, although the Suguru could wield technology capable of breaking the heart of a star. Most Sith wars occur when the fighters can look gazes before trading blows. Their death-dealing tools are as admirable for their craftsmanship as for their lethality. Heavy swords are required 2 hands to wield, except for the Massassi who can wield them with 1 hand. The sword can deflect plasma bolts and withstand with energy of lightsaber blade, because the blade was treated with Sith Alchemy to produce the lightsaber impervious effect. A sword that their double-edged staff-like appearance may have been the prototype of the double-bladed lightsabers preferred by many Sith. The Sith used them for the feeling of hard metal cutting through soft flesh. These swords were forged with cortosis weave metal. A peculiar thing of the Sith people was their innate tendency to be left-handed. This led to the creation of the Lamvarok, a ranged weapon that was a combination two-handed polearm weapon and projectile launcher that released sharp, poison-coated disc guided by the power of the dark side. Sharp weapon, sometimes made of glass, similar to a boomerang that could be thrown towards an enemy and thanks to its curved blade, returned to the thrower, unless it was thrown at an enemy's skull. Originally, it was a gardening tool. It's the assassin's tool. Shikars were daggers that were crafted from glass with application of the Force. They could be as long as a forearm, but were easily hidden under ropes. A twist of the handle after stabbing a victim will snap the glassy blade off and leave it to fester beneath the skin. In battle, the Sith covered their swords and darts with poison. Even in the cups of their rivals they place it. Can cause pain, paralysis, death or blood frenzy. With each generation of Sith, the poison was improved to compensate for the increased immunities of the species. These weapons are carried by the Massassi, and in particular, their amulets require more skill. The Kisai priests wear these ornaments around their neck to deepen their ties to the dark side. There are minor engraved amulets. The first one can create protective shields, heal injured flesh, sharpen battle focus, or energize weakened muscles. And if a minor amulet was destroyed, it will release waves of energy, killing off life within a 32-foot radius. The great amulets were the most valuable and unique. Users must first overcome the amulet's seductive song, for if they can't, they will be forever lost to dark side insanity. Many of these are found in the tombs of Korriban. Was worn around the neck and held in place by a thin, silver chain. It translates any language spoken or written, and attunes its wearer to the maddening chatter of ghosts. A golden armor that to its user looks like someone or something. However, when used it burns the flesh. The Death King, Dathka Grouch, replaced his own heart with this fist-sized ruby, which contained the souls of his foes. When paired with the helm of Grouch, the wielder can control the forces of nature. A spherical ship with 10 meters in diameter that contained a meditation chamber with irregular walls that sloped inward and in the center. And the Sith Lord focused his powers of the dark side that allowed him to amplify his intentions and send them great distances to control his armies and ensure the victory of his forces. Within the sphere, the Dark Lord was able to create illusions and make them real enough to deal damage, giving him an advantage in battle. The talisman had the ability to turn other beings into mindless slaves that were at the wielder's command. The talisman created and controlled ragdolls, monstrous and deadly creatures known for their ferocity and infectious bite. Once infected by the talisman, the victim will undergo a hideous transformation, becoming a ragdoll under the control of Mur's malevolent will. These infected people could spread the contagion, leading to a large-scale outbreak of ragdolls. The ancient masters of the dark side had used holocrons to store all their wisdom, knowledge, and secrets. A holocron could contain ancient rituals of devastating power or the keys to unlocking the magics of ancient Sith sorcerers. Sith Holocron are technologically identical to the Jedi Holocron, but they possess dark side refinements. Unlike the Jedi, the Sith Holocron didn't limit information to the seeker who attempted to delve into their teachings. However, the consequence was more dangerous, as the Sith Holocron gatekeeper could corrupt the user's unconscious. The secrets to creating a holocron were given to the Sith by the Rakata in the time of King Aras. The Sith holocrons are pyramidal, to replicate the angles of power found not only within the Sith tombs, but also within Sith culture. The information contained was so valuable that, for many centuries, holocrons had been the tool of choice for passing on the legacy of the great Sith Lords to future generations. Not surprisingly, most of the information inside the holocron was hidden, locked away in the depths of its crystalline structure where it could be accessed only through time, meditation, and careful study. It could take a knowledge-hungry user months or even years to reach all the secrets of a single holocron. One of the most important elements of the holocron is the central crystal, with the color of the smoke, and is both a power source and a repository for the gatekeeper's data ghost. During the creation of the holocron, The manipulation of the crystal matrix wasn't an easy matter. Very demanding specifications have to be met. Subatomically, altering each lattice and vertex of the crystal in order to store almost infinite amounts of knowledge and to contain the cognitive network of the guardian. The gatekeeper's role was to guide and direct anyone using the artifact, but also to ensure that only people deemed worthy or powerful enough could unlock the secrets within. This three-dimensional figure had the personality and appearance of the Sith Lord who created the Holocron. The figure embodied the Sith Lord's traits, behavior, and motivations, acting as an extension of his will. On the surface of the Holocron, it featured Sith symbols that were part of a powerful ritual and fundamental to the Matrix's stability after being infused with the dark side. Each Holocron had to have its unique and unrepeatable marks. The marks of another old Holocron couldn't be copied to a new one since, if that was done, the developing Holocron could implode and be reduced to dust. The reason for this was that each Holocron had symbols that were uniquely linked to the Holocron's creator. Therefore, the right combination of figures, along with sorceries and spells specific to the ancient Sith, would allow the creator to capture the appearance, knowledge, and cognitive processes. A particularity of the process was that the cognitive network had to be transferred to the capstone during the ritual of commencement, since the cognitive network degraded too quickly, and when making the adjustments and rituals without this previous step, it will always fail when trying to finish the process. So, the crystal didn't have just a single purpose of channeling the power of the symbols etched on the sides of the pyramid into the matrix. Destruction of a capstone will release its gatekeeper and may bring about a battle against the vengeful specter. So, the liberation of the Holocron was a process of totally controlled movements and thoughts, but they had to be carried out with an incomparable mastery. Among the Kisai, who were the priests of the Sith, there was a group called Ninushgot Srakut, which meant Notice of Entrails in Sith. Through alchemy and manipulated breathing, they have birthed many hungry creatures to tool and kill for the Sith. Large beetle bred by the Sith. In its natural state, it's not bigger than a wombat, but with Sith Alchemy, its size was enlarged. The Siluth was adapted for battle, with 6 legs ending in a pair of razor-sharp claws, and its body covered in a set of segmented chitin plates that served as armor. In addition to its deadly jaw, the beetle was capable of spewing acid from its mouth, spraying the substance at targets up to 10 meters away. A species of flightless bird from the planet Cardelva that the Sith commonly used as artillery mount and also used their large size to ram and trample their prey and their large beaks to devour their prey. When fully grown, they were approximately 20 feet tall from the ground to the top of their heads and 10 feet long from head to tail. Huge omnivorous beasts weighing more than 22,000 pounds where the Sith used them to augmented battle legions. The uses were various, such as to transport troops, carry heavy weapons, and break enemy fortifications. When among the Sith army, the war giants were equipped with gun turrets along with manned cabins that housed 4 people who found their armored beast. Sith hounds were large beasts that were bred to be fearless and relentless, possessing sharp horns, long claws, and savage teeth. The 2 kata were unusually intelligent and could even communicate with each other through unknown means. It was claimed that the species were originally non-violent herding animals before being corrupted by Sith alchemy experiments that awakened dormant parts of their brain that transformed them into unnatural abominations. The dark side dragons, about 3 meters long, with green, scaly skin, were a kind of lizard with the ability to influence force-sensitive beings around them. If bitten by these creatures, one will succumb to the effects of a dark side poison, also have the ability to hide and become invisible, possibly through the Force. Tyrantetecs were creatures that fed on the blood of the Force-sensitive and inhabited caves and tombs strung with the dark side of the Force. Several guarded the entrance to a section of the Sith tombs. They had several spines, growing from their backs and a pair of fins or fang-like projections attached to their mouths. They also had huge claws, 4 per hand. The fangs and claws were highly poisonous. It was theorized that they were once rancors, subject to mutation by the Sith, and that when the dark side was weak in the galaxy, the Tyrantetecs would hibernate and lay dormant for many years, only to return when the dark side was strong again. A sinuous reptile with leathery wings, 2 heads that sat on long necks, but there were specimens that had more than 2 heads. It had a long, whip-like tail that held a stinger and could shoot out venom. Using Sith Alchemy, the Kisai altered the beast's body, mixing the skin with damage-reducing Sith alloys and even reducing the damage to a lightsaber attack. Beast to tear down enemy fortifications. It's unknown from which animals they were created. Was a massive creature that lived on the 4th moon of Yavin in large subterranean lairs. It was originally an exogord altered through Sith Alchemy. Sith Alchemy, a dark and forbidden art that delves into the manipulation of the Force to bend the laws of nature, forging unnatural creations and twisting reality for the benefit of the Sith. With Sith Alchemy, the users tap into the dark side of the Force, using their intense emotions, fear, anger, and hatred to fuel their abilities. They can mold and reshape living things, imbue objects with malevolent energies, and create hideous abominations known as Sith spawns. The Sith Alchemy is applied to the living as well as to the non-living. Each one is a different discipline of study. For the apprentices, the one applied to the non-living is the most appropriate to get into these practices. The alchemy of the non-living is much simpler because there are no living cells to resist it. This science is widely used to create amulets and improve weapons. Any object touched with alchemical lore will become Force sensitive, forever retaining a mirror print of its forger. Alchemy of the living is suitable only for masters. A power related to elemental manipulation and metallurgy was the Force Alchemy, that was a skill practiced by some members of the Jedi Order on the planet Titan. Taught in the Temple of Science, Anil Kesh, the practice of alchemy required leaning toward the dark side of the Force, but the Jedi Council considered it an allowable skill to study. On Anil Kesh, the Jedi supervised alchemical experiments on wild beasts. The genetic manipulation of these animals wasn't done in a way that would harm the beast, but the Jedi believed that it was the true desire of their natural evolution that was being passed down. Sith Alchemy was used primarily to enhance the strength of weapons and armor, such as the famous Sith swords, or genetically modifying and enhance alien species, making them more dangerous and easier to control. More sinisterly, Sith Alchemy was capable of awakening the death in servitude to the Sith. Sith Incantations, also known as Sith rituals or dark side spells, are powerful and malevolent invocations practiced by Sith sorcerers and Force users aligned with the dark side. These arcane rituals harness the dark energies of the Force, unleashed immense power for various purposes, from enhancing abilities to devastating attacks on enemies. The process of mastering the Sith Incantations is hard and often requires years of study and discipline. Scholars delve into ancient Sith scrolls and forbidden knowledge, learning the intricacies of dark side manipulation and how to channel their malevolent emotions into raw power. Spells range in complexity, from simple dark side phrases to elaborate and intricate rituals that require specific gestures, sacrifices, or the presence of certain artifacts. Some are whispered in ancient Sith language, their words charged with malevolence and darkness, while others are imbued with the raw emotions and hatred of the practitioner. It's known that it's not enough to simply use the powers of the Force. The rituals give additional power to the casting of spells. Memorizing the incantations and speaking them with conviction the same way gives them extra value, and body movements through specific gestures endows with unimaginable power. The magic of the ancient Sith was a complex power that assaulted an individual psyche in ways that were difficult to comprehend and difficult to defend against. Some of the incantations are: by focusing the rage on the enemies, it can conjure a spear of dark energy to pierce the flesh. With the quick and precise finger slashes moves, it can summon strands of dark side energy that will wrap around the target and ensnare them in an unbreakable mesh. Magical ability that made the wielder effectively be able to control and influence the minds of anyone they choose. Through this incantation, the caster will concentrate the air and energy around them to conjure a dream beast known as the Smoke Demon. This creature hath no true form, and it will assume the shape of its victim's worst fear. A smoke demon can travel as wind blow miasma, or coalesce into solid form when commanded to attack. It can vaporize the body of a victim by entering its nose or mouth, though it's vulnerable to force-based counterattacks. Could awaken the newly dead and skeletons, transforming them into an unstoppable legion, immune to pain and capable of transmitting a necromantic infection through rites. When a Sith sorcerer speaks, he gives voice to the thousands who went before him. The Sith spells require vocalization, and more than a recitation, they must be pronounced in a precise way, passionately, and also each incantation has a specific metric and rhyme that cannot be changed. If spoken hesitantly, the spell may haunt the speaker. Spells require time to prepare and cast, and are difficult to use during battle. The ancient Sith kings placed their best sorcerers far from the battlefield, so they could properly perform each spell. The prophecy of the Sith'ari is an ancient and mysterious prophecy deeply rooted in Sith lore and mythology. The Sith'ari prophecy was considered too sacred to be put into writing by the Kisai, who pass it down orally from generation to generation. It predicts the arrival of a chosen one, a being of immense power who will lead the Sith to the final glory. The Sith'ari is destined to be the most powerful and influential Sith Lord of his time, surpassing all others in his mastery of the dark side of the Force. According to the prophecy, the Sith'ari will be a being of extraordinary potential, born with an innate connection to the Force. He will possess a unique combination of raw power, cunning intellect, and insatiable ambition. His strength in the dark side will be so profound that he will challenge conventional Sith teachings, surpassing the capabilities of all previous Sith Lords. One aspect of the prophecy that adds to its mystic is the belief that the arrival of the Sith'ari will herald both great triumph and profound tragedy. His actions will lead to radical changes, but these changes can also come at a high cost. The Sith'ari will be free of limits. The Sith'ari will lead the Sith and destroy them. The Sith'ari will raise the Sith from death and make them stronger than before.